Once again, welcome back to the plot.
Well, good afternoon everybody. I know I've missed a week. I've just had the cold from hell, I think, the last fortnight. Really bad chest and heavy cough, so I've had to keep off the garden for at least 6-7 days now. It's rained constantly for days on end, but fortunately yesterday and today has been a lot better. We're starting to get a little bit of sunshine breaking through there, and we've been promised a better day the day than what we've had for at least a fortnight up here in the north. It's been chronic, and of course the ground's been soaking up here, and I think that's where I got my cold from, especially inside the greenhouses, especially the top one that's just got the net on. The rain's been coming through constant, and the chippings that's on the floor, they're just like a wet sopping carpet, so of course when you're standing on them you're going to get the coldness coming right through. So anyway, I'm feeling a bit better today, so I'm getting myself out and about. What I've got to do this afternoon, I've got to get up the plot and I've got to get started on some potting off. I've got the wallflowers, I've got the Bellis daisies, I've got pansies, I've got trefuls of them up there, and of course I'll show you them when we get up there. But I've had to do a few bits and pieces down the plot, the back garden this afternoon. I've been tending the baskets, not tidying them, deadheading them. Absolutely marvellous, first class baskets this year. I'm really chuffed with them. I don't know whether I can just spin that round and let you have a look at them far ones. The wife's got a bit of washing out, but no, I don't think I'll put that, because I'll end up knocking all this to hell. So what I've been doing this morning, the aubergines are just about ready for picking. Some of the smaller ones, or some of the larger ones I should say. They have been getting regular feeds every week, well watered, and they've been absolutely marvellous this year. And a first class, stunning little plants, and some cracking little aubergines on there. But what I did notice at the beginning of the week was a lot of the top leaves. Well, it's like a tomato plant. Tomato plants here. What I do from the bottom truss, I start taking the leaves away. I don't take them all away, because you still need a good few leaves on the top for photosynthesis still to kick in. And that's your main priority of getting your plant to grow properly. As long as they're getting plenty of light and the leaves are taking in the light, converting it to energy, you should have a first class plant growing away. As long as you're watering properly and as long as you're feeding. And as I say, I noticed a couple of leaves starting to yellow. So what I do with my peppers and my chilies this time of the year, once I start fattening out, I always put a teaspoonful of Epsom salts in my spray bottle. I've got my spray bottle handy here. I always put some Epsom salts and I spray the leaves. Give the leaves a good soak with that, and they're going to take in them salts and give them a nice green. It's as you can see there, a first class colour. They were starting to yellow off a little bit at the beginning of the week, but once I've started giving them a spray daily with the Epsom salts, they've picked up there's a little bit leaf damage on there, but I keep checking them for caterpillars. My doors are open all day long, and of course you get the odd butterflies and that's still flying around, so it's best just to keep an eye on them. But I'd say they're cracking plants. I'm really pleased with them. They're getting foliar fed, as I say, to keep the leaves going, and they're getting a weekly feed on the roots with high potash for the fruits, so they're getting best of both worlds. That's the beauty of your plants, keeping your plants growing. As I say, the tomato plants up here, we've been cutting them back. The leaves, I'll just swing around. We've had a first class crop of Shirley tomatoes from here. All the seeds now been cleared off. I've got a couple extra packets of seed for next year. I've got a packet of Akron, which I'm going to sow for next year. Try them out. There's been a lot of people been going on about them, and I've also getting a packet of maisie. Now, I've never grown maisie before, but there's a lot of write-ups about them on the show bench and that, so I'm going to have a bash at maisie. Still sticking to me me perennials, me regulars, me gardener's delight, and of course me money maker. I never go without growing them. Always have done, always will do. And of course Ailsa Craig is a great tomato for us, so I'm gonna plant a few Ailsa Craigs like I normally do, and they're a good hardy tomato for a cold greenhouse. But I thought before I get up the plot, I'll show you what I'm doing down here. Get the eggplants sorted first. As I say, your plants, your light is one of the main things. Now I'll show you when we get up there, because I've got a lot of seedlings. They've been up on the top shelves, but they've been getting a real good soaking with the rain. So I've had to shift them into the polytunnel for a few days to dry them out, and they're just perfect ready for potting off. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get up. We're going to do some potting off, and hopefully I may get the polyanthus seeds sown and the spring cabbage. So we'll see you up the plot. Okay, right, here we are, back up the plot. It's still a bit cool up here. The sun hasn't come out as promised, but no doubt, being a northeaster, probably around about take time out when it shows its face when we're getting ready to settle down for the night. But anyway, we're here, and these I wanted to crack on with. I know the soil's a lot damp up here, but I've got polythene bags on the floor. I'm trying to keep off the dampness as much as I can. Now ideally I would have liked to have started on these a fortnight ago before I took bad with the cold, but they've been left down in the bottom polytunnel. They've been watered because I haven't been in the trays. As I say, when we were up here, just having the net on the top, they were getting absolutely soaked. We had about a fortnight of rain, just constant, day in, day out, and they were getting a really good soaking. So I thought best bring them down and put them in the bottom polytunnel, and there they've been for a good week now. But they've jumped up, they've got to put on a lot of weight, and they're not too bad. But I've potted off about 6 trefoils already, and I'm just busy on these ones. But as I say, this is where I do most of my annuals and most of me spring bedding. I like to plant them, as I say, plant them in 3 rows, and this is the easiest way I've found of potting them off. I've got all my pots not ready. I've got my 9cm pots here. I've got my 3-2-1 mix, my own compost mix. Fantastic. They'll go into them and they'll just romp away. Now, when I put them off, they go back into here down the bottom of the greenhouse here, just on the shelves. Once again, they're under the nets. There's no polythene cover over the top of them. They're under the nets. So when it does rain, they'll just get a good soaking. I'll just keep an eye on them for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and ideally, you'll have a 9cm pot like that. You'll have it full of root within 4 to 5 weeks, and of course that's going to take into September. Perfect for planting in September. Nice little plants. Once again, my golden rule when I'm potting off, unless they're expensive seeds. Now I did mention it the other week about this. One of the ladies had commented that she had getting very poor results with her petunias. Now with petunias I do exactly the same. I plant it in rows of 3 in the trays, very light, just a light covering of perlite. That's all they need, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the polyanthus today, or tomorrow if I get the polyanthus sown. I might get it finished off this afternoon, I don't know, we'll see. But with the polyanthus, I do exactly the same thing. You don't exclude the light from them. You want a nice even compost, nice light compost, well watered the day before, and then sown on the top. I do exactly the same. I multi-sow. I don't put them in 3 rows. I just multi-sow because they'll come up in pretty strong little plants, and just a very fine covering of perlite over the top of them until it breaks surface, and then you put a fine sieving of compost over the top of them just to help them root down, and you find they come away really easy. Anyway, let's crack on with these. We'll get the last. This is the last tree. I had 3 rows of red, 3 trefoils of red, and 1 trefoil of mixed. I've still got the mixed wallflower down there to do, but no doubt I'll probably crack on with that tomorrow. But I'm hopefully getting 2 trefoils out of these, and that'll be like 8 full trays of down there. Trefoils of 18 pots of 9cm full of wallflower. So that's quite a lot. But as I say, I've got a big family and I've got a lot of friends, but they'll be going out. So this is where I like to do these. Quite an easy job. Make sure you well soak it. the previous night. I had to water these with them being under the polytunnel. I watered them last night, and of course there's a big clunk of them there. And what I like to do, I just work my way along and just tease some of the compost away from it, away from the sides, and then you've got a nice row there, nice long row there. I've just taken them out, and all you need to do is go along and just break off little clumps. Here's just take a little plug, put them in a seed tray. Easy enough to do when the compost nice and wet, and you can just firm them in, so you've got yourself like a little plug. So again, just peel them off and just ease the compost. If it's nice and moist, it'll go into a nice little plug. Not a hard job to do. I do this with most of my bedding, most of my annuals. I never sow singly. I always put them in little clumps. Marigolds, petunias, lobelia. Well, lobelia is one of the worst things to pot up, but if you do it the same way as this, you do it in sow it in 3 rows in a tray, and it's so easy to take them out the tray in little clumps like that, and it's you'll find it far better easy to sow them. Just pull that bit of excess soil away from there, and there's the last clump there. So that little piece there, I've gotten 2, 4, 5, 6 little clumps. As I say, you can just mould them in a little plug like that. You've got your 9cm pot. Get your finger in, pot them in. There we have it. Nothing difficult about that whatsoever. There's about 5 or 6 wallflowers in that little clump. They'll grow away, they'll fill that pot up, and you'll have a fantastic clump of flowers ready for planting out. Nothing single, not singly little strands of flower popping up. A nice bold clump. Get them planted in September. By the end of September, they'll be in the garden. It's still warm enough then, September and October, for them to get rooted, well rooted. And by the time your winter sets on, into December, end of November, December, cold nights, you've got a first class little plant in the garden ready to burst into colour in the springtime. And we'll track these all the way through. I'll show you on the videos as we work way through them, work way through the year. If we get a mild year like we had last year, it's you've got no problem whatsoever. But wallflowers are so hardy, they'll grow away, and as I say, you get a first class little plant, full of bloom and full of perfume for next year. And a little clump there, as I say, just make a hole with your finger. You can use a dibber, a little stick, anything. Get them into pots of compost. This is my 3-2-1 mix. Made it for years. There we have it. All you need now is a good watering. So that's another good tray of wallflower. So I've got one more to do this afternoon. Finish your wallflower off. These red ones anyway. Then I've got the multicolours to do next week, tomorrow. And then I've got the Bellis Daisy, I've got the Pansy. And I'll be sowing some foxgloves tomorrow. I'll get them sown now, as well as the as well as the other seeds I've got. Spring cabbage, I've got to get a couple of sowings of spring cabbage done. Better get them now. I'll need some for sowing outside, so get a decent plant up. And also I want a lot for planting out in the bottom polytunnel where the tomatoes come out, or the top polytunnel. Hopefully by then we'll get the new cover back over, because it's still wide open to the elements. There's tomatoes in there, and they're growing away, but there's a bit of rot going on amongst them, because as I say, the top's been open and it's been open to the weather. So we'll get a few tomatoes out of them. That's the main thing. As long as we get the polyanthus sown, so we'll get the foxglove sown. The polyanthus, I'll have to put them in. We'll probably finish the video off with that either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. We'll get it done, but depending on this weather. If it's going to get much colder, my coat's going on, and get myself way back down home. As I say, I'm just getting over this cold, and the last thing I wanted to get dampness on my chest again. But that's it. That's the basics of the wallflowers anyway. If you're following me, That's such an easy plant to grow, and if you sow them the way we done, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. They grow great. They're a nice strong little plant, and they're just first class for potting off at that size. Just follow the little basic rules about sowing them in rows of 3 in a standard size seed tray. They'll come up, and of course using a nice clean compost, plenty sharp sand, and you shouldn't have any weeds in it. But as I say, now that I'm potting them up into a 3-to-1 mix, we will get a few weeds growing amongst them. So all we have to do is take a tray full of seedlings down off the bench, maybe it's once a week, twice a week, and just pick the seedlings out and get a first class plant in 6 weeks time, ready for planting out into the gardens. Okay, so I'm just going to knock off now, and hopefully I'll get this video finished this afternoon, if not it'll be tomorrow. Right, good afternoon everybody. Well, I finally managed to get back up here. It's a bit breezy again today, but the sun's out, so let's crack on. Let's get this polyanthus out the road. Now what I did yesterday afternoon, I went back down home and decided to do a little bit of tinkering in the back garden, a bit cleaning up the baskets, which I posted online last night, deadheading them, feeding them. There's a million things to be done if you want to keep your baskets in peak condition, and that's one thing I always set my sights on. At least twice a week I'll spend a bit of time with them, especially taking them off, turning the hooks so the baskets get a full turn, weeding them out, because I use a multi-purpose compost, my own 3-to-1 mix, and even on the baskets I half and half it, and that's how they're well fed. They grow really easy, and you get some marvellous plants out of them. But apart from that, it's feeding, turn them every other day, giving them the full light, and they're absolutely marvellous. But I did a couple of hours on them yesterday afternoon, and the wife come down and checked them out, so I'm spot on with that. But what I did notice yesterday, I was in the shed, and I've got a big tray full of bulbs that I took up in the springtime when I emptied my pots out. That's in front of the greenhouse, and of course straight away I thought, the job I'm doing today, it puts it straight back onto these. And of course these are the denticulata, the drumstick primula, or polyanthus, and these were last year's seed. And what I did last year, I sowed them exactly the same time into modules. Once we're grown on, plant them into modules, and then I think I potted them off in February. And by April there were some nice strong little plants which I give away to family and friends, and I had a few trays left, so I potted them up into bigger pots, and they've been sitting outside on the border all summer, and now are fantastic, full of roots. And what I'm aiming to do with these is when my pots come out down home, I'm going to put 3 polyanthus in, some tulips at the back, some nice tulips for the height, and at the front some dwarf daffodils. Tea's a fantastic variety, I've used them for years, just a nice dwarf one, absolutely beautiful heads on them, so I think the wife's going to be well pleased with them. But as I say, if you want to grow perennials, they're not hard, you know. It all depends on how much time you're willing to put in to preparation, and as I say, preparation's everything. You've got for the sow seed, you've got to get your conditions right, your weather, water, everything comes into play. If you don't take note of any of that, then you're gonna lose a lot. But as I say, perennials, if you want to start off with, are great, and that's what we're going to do this morning. Andy Wilson posted online from Andy and Jane's allotment up in Shiremore. He's waiting to get his polyanthus in. He's sent away, as I say. I find it difficult to get seeds from Low Shields. Doesn't matter what shop I'm going to, and of course Wilco's is one of them. It's a sad story what's happening down there today, but I've tried and get polyanthus from them. There's different shops. There's a pound shop, there's Savers. They all have plenty of rows of seeds, but polyanthus I can never get. But I always send away for mine. Well, one of the varieties I buy, these ones, the perennials, and I get these from Seeds Direct online, and these are only 50p a packet, and they get 50 seeds in a packet, so that's excellent for your money. But I always like to send away for the big ones, and of course Thompson & Morgan do a fantastic one. I do Thompson & Morgan, I do DT Browns, I do Kings, and I always like to get for myself, I like the best seed. Now these, for £2 out a packet, and I've got 100 seed in there. So 100 seed, if you sow them properly and get them grown properly, you've got 100 plants. Now you buy a plant like that in the shop, it's going to cost you $2.99. What you can do, you can send away for plugs if you want. Some great companies online. DT Brown do them. There's one down in the Channel Islands. They do one. There's Plugs Direct. There's plenty of, and you can buy tiny little miniature plugs, seedlings. You probably pay about 13, 14, 15 pound or 20 or 30 if that's all you need. And to me it's a bargain. But what you've got to do is when they turn up, make sure they're in good condition, and you've got to put them off into little pots and grow them on. But that's another thing. But to me, buying a pack of seed, it's a no-brainer. So here we'll go. Anyway, I've got my compost ready. Multi-purpose compost for these, especially for these, for sowing these. Multi-purpose, and what I do, I like to add a good handful of perlite, especially for this mixture alone. If you can't get perlite, use sharp sand. I use sharp sand in every mix of mine. But when I put this up, I put a bit of extra sharp sand in, or a bit extra perlite, and make it really free draining. And what I've been doing, they've been sitting in water for a good few hours, and the tray is well soaked. As I say, I never water from above, and especially with these, when you're going to plant these, do not water from above, because you're going to scatter the seed all over, and you might end up letting them rot up before they start seeding. So, as I say, good compost, multi-purpose compost, a really good one. You can get small bags of multi-purpose, half trays that are cheap enough to buy. But I never, when I make my 3-to-1 mix, I can just buy some cheap compost that you can buy in some of the local stores. A 40 litre bag of that. Sometimes I get it from Aldi, 40 litre bags. I wouldn't use it on these, but it's alright for making me mixes up, my big potting mixes. But a really good mix, and as I say, some nice perlite or sharp sand, really free draining. And then what I don't do with these, you see a lot of people online do it, and I've never done it. I think it's they get a seed, they get a level of the compost, and they go across and tamp it down. I never do that. Reason being, when you're sowing polyanthus, you're sowing them on the top, and you're not excluding any light, so you're not going to cover them. All I'm going to do is I'm going to dribble a little bit of perlite over the top of these, and once they start rooting, you can get a bit fine compost and a bit perlite and just sprinkle it across, and it just helps the roots get anchored into your compost. Once again, watering, I'm always watering from down below. I never water from above. Always, the only time I'll water these now, I've got my spray handy somewhere, is now. This is the only time you'll get a watering from above. Chamomile tea. Don't forget the chamomile tea. And that's the only time you'll get a watering from above. I've done now. It's had a good soak of chamomile tea, and now it's ready for your seeds. I'll just pop this on the top. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there. What I should have done was bring the towel in to wipe my hands, because when you're dealing with seed, ideally what you need is dry hands, because they can stick. Now it's a small tray. It's a half tray. I think I'll just turn that out and put it on top of there for the time being, just to give her a little bit of height. That's the half tray on there. Now this one here, they've got 50 seeds in. So what I've done, I've turned them out into a little plastic container, and on the bottom I've got a little piece of toilet paper, a little bit of tissue, not wet, dry, and then you can see the seeds. And all I like to do, preferably when it's not windy like it is today, but it's not too bad in here, I can just fold that over like that, and then you've got to just fold it over, and you've got a perfect little shoot. You can just give it a couple of, and you can see the seed coming out. Especially ones that have stuck with it, and the spiders. Well, that's fine. There's 50 seed there in that packet, and they're on a half tray. as I say, you don't exclude them from light. And all you want to do is go across there. I've got some perlite down here in multi-purpose and just a very light sprinkling. Very light, and they'll just be they'll go into a full-size tray, popped in a tray, and a little propagator lid put on this. And we'll go in the melon house. I've just been putting the shelves back in the melon house when I took the cucumber plants out, so that's where they'll sit. And it's too wet up here because there's rain. The rain's getting through the roof all the time. My perennial plants and my stock plants are great, they're thriving on there. But for these, the seedlings, you've got to be very careful. I've got a full tray. I'll shift this one. And I've got a full seed tray here now. That's been sitting in the water for an hour. Turn that upside down. There we have it. Exactly the same again. Full size seed tray there now. And nice and clean. Good compost. Plenty of perlite in it, so it's got plenty of mixture. And then we'll get there. Now these seeds are different because they've got a nice heavy packet and you can actually see the seed inside. Where these ones, they're a little bit sticky, so that's why I like to tip them out. But these, you can see, or you can pop them into your hand, which is what I like to do at times. Just make sure you've got nice dry hands. And just give that pack a little knock. There's a couple of little seed in there, and then you can just work your way from side to side, just broadcasting these. The reason being I broadcast these seeds is because there we have it. We've got 100 seed in there. The reason I broadcast these is because you're going to be potting them off individual. Normally, as I say, I do it in 3 rows, the 3 rows in the tray. If I'm sowing annuals, the likes of the wallflower on it, I've still got it to finish off. I do 3 rows, but when I'm doing polyanthus, primula, I like to broadcast them. They're on the top of the surface here now, and that's it. No soil, anything can come, just a little bit of perlite, or even a little bit of sharp sand. It's just to anchor them plants down. All they'll get is the covering, and there we have it. Now what we'll do with these, we'll sit them on a tray. I've got a long tray here, I'll take that down the melon house. Plenty of newspapers on the bottom. I'll put about four newspapers in the bottom of that tray, and it just acts like a sponge. And these, I'll just sit on that tray on top of the newspapers, and then when I need to water, I'll just water the big tray from underneath, and they'll take up with them being nice and a nice fine mix, plenty of drainage. They'll just act like a sponge, and they'll take whatever moisture up that they need. Now the tops, you don't have to put tops on if you don't want to. If you just got a cool part of the greenhouse, you don't want it too hot. Where my polytunnel is, it's all ripped at the moment, so that's why I'm putting them in there. They're getting plenty of fresh air, but in the melon house they've still got that little bit of cover. You don't want any harsh winds, any rain getting at them. And so that's the idea of me putting that top on just for now, and I'll keep a really good eye on them. As soon as they break surface, as soon as they start breaking surface, that top will come off, and then once again they'll get another spray of tea, chamomile tea, and they'll be probably pricked off in about 4 or 5 weeks time. And the lovely little plants pricked off into multi-cell seed trays. I've normally got some lying around. You can pop them into them, into 9s, you get 9s, you get 6s. They'll probably end up into these, and they'll sit in a polytunnel right until next spring. Sometimes if you want to plant them earlier, you can get them ready for September for planting out. But to me, you know, I always like to err on the side of caution is when you're, especially with young plants, is not to give them too much of, especially if we've got a severe winter up here, and then it usually hinders them or knocks them back altogether. So what I like to do is I like to put them down the bottom polytunnel, up on the shelves, leave them there, and they just sit there all of the winter. There's 2 doors, both top and bottom have just got mesh on, so there's loads of fresh air. As I say, down home I'm doing exactly the same thing. My greenhouse doors never shut. Even last night I come up out the garden and I thought, well, it's going to be that muggy and that much. Just leave it open and let that wind through, let the fresh air through, and the plant's lovely for it, you know. They really benefit from it. Down here, these two are full of peppers and chilies, so I've got to start working my way through them too, get them cleaned out. As I said yesterday, give them a good spray with the salts, Epsom salt, especially with chilies and peppers. They love it. I just put a teaspoonful in a litre bottle and just soak in the leaves. And I did exactly the same with the eggplants, just soak in the leaves. They're getting all the nutrients and need the potash from when you're feeding the pots. But keep your eye on your leaves, you know, if they start yellowing, they want a little bit of extra nitrogen, and the Epsom salts do that. Great for you, you know, they'll take all that excess feed in, nice and fresh, and it keeps them growing and doing what they're supposed to do. Photosynthesis, taking that light in, converting it to sugar, and keeping your plants growing really healthy. And that way, you shouldn't have any bother, you shouldn't have any problems. So I hope I've helped you there, Andy, with your polyanthus sowing. As I say, don't exclude any light. If you've got perlite, just sprinkle a little bit of perlite over the top of them. Don't want any heavy compost or nothing like that on top of them. The seeds have anchored themselves once you've dropped them onto that wet compost, and that's the idea of me not flattening out that surface. You see like some Monty Dunn getting a trowel and getting a board and flattening the tops down. I never do. I just leave it as flat as you can get it, and you know, them bits of compost not sticking up. It just helps for them seed to drop in between them and anchor themselves in, especially when you spray over the top of them. That little bit of chamomile tea, it just sets them in. And within 10 to 15 days, they should start rooting away. We'll keep an eye on them. I'll keep you posted every week on the internet. I'll let you know how we're getting on. But this afternoon, I've got the rest of the cabbage. I've got them to sow. I've got foxgloves to sow. I have to get them in. I've got some stock to sow. I might add them in next week's video. I've still got lots of spring flowers to get in for the moment. You know, you can go on and on and on, but sometimes you've got to say, enough's enough, and stop. What I have sent away for is some. I had them years ago in the house I lived in before I shifted here. Crocosmia. I had the nice orange and yellow one. I had them right around the garden, and of course, when I did leave, I never took any with us bulbs. So what I've sent away for is a packet. I've sent away for a packet of 50 seed, and of course these are the Crocosmia lucifer, and really deep, rich red, which I've wanted for a long time. So I've sent away for a packet of them, and hopefully they'll turn up this week, and I'll sow them this week, because there's still plenty of time for them to start growing. Just because winter's coming on doesn't mean to say, or the autumn's coming on doesn't mean to say you've got to stop sowing. You can sow all year round with perennials. I do quite a lot. Pansies, I've got loads of pansies down there, which I'm going to start on next. They've been sown for a couple of weeks, so I'll start pricking them off, and they'll be ready for around about September, October. You can't plant them out into your baskets, but once again, I like to leave a good few of them to one side and just leave in a polytunnel. And if they're in big enough pots, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put a lot of them in cups. Especially my own stock, they're going to go into these cups, and these just go straight into the garden. Unless they're for baskets, and then that'll be no good, because you're still going to have to tip them out, and you can't put them into baskets, or I wouldn't attempt it anyway. But hopefully I've given you a few tips, and you can get cracking in with sowing your polyanthus now, Andy. Get them in, so give them a good spray of chamomile tea, and they should be fine. And I'll show you how to pot them up, and maybe 4 or 5 weeks time we'll start pricking them out, and we'll put them into our trays ready for the autumn. And let's say by autumn you can get them into open it with a 9cm pot like that. You can get them into a 9cm pot. Hopefully I've got that much stuff lying around here, I end up tripping over most of it. You can get them in a nice 9cm pot like that, and they'll sit in there all winter, right until next spring when you've got a first-class plant ready for planting out. But that's it. I've still got a few more packets of polyanthus to sow, so I'm going to. They're not going to. A lot of them will go into half trays, because they're all. I've got about 6 packets with 50 in, so I'll use a lot of half trays. You've got any amount of trays to use, half trays like that. Sometimes I use these trays from the mushrooms, from the shops. If you've only, it depends when you get your seed. You just read the back. You know, you've got loads of information on there. You don't have to follow it to the T, but some of the information is great, like the seed count, when not to sow, and what conditions they're like. But there's loads of information on a seed packet. But as I say, I like to use these. If there's only 50 seed in a packet, that's perfect. Instead of getting a full-size seed tray out and fill it up with compost and then just scattering a few seed in it. Just as a nice small seed tray like that, and they grow quite easily, just the same. Just make sure you put your holes in the bottom. You've got a good compost on the top. Sprinkle the seed on and they'll grow away just as well as any other professional seed trays or holders that you can buy in the shops. It's just another tip to save you a few coppers. Okay, so I'm going to crack on. That's this video finished again. Next week, well, there's any amount of stuff to be done up here. Weeding, cabbages have been great. We've been getting some great cabbage. I might start off with the peppers because I've got a load of work to do on the peppers. Weed them out, clean them out. I've been feeding them every week with some lovely fruits on them. But once again, I'll make my own sprays up. Because they're very prone to black fly and green fly and whatnot. So I might have to give them a spray next week. I might make a little rhubarb spray up or a garlic spray. You know, just about a little bit soapy water in it. Make that up and give them a spray with that. Make sure they're getting fed properly, and of course a little bit of Epsom salts, and it never comes in wrong. But that's all for next week anyway. But for the time being, we'll crack on. Catch you on my Facebook page. It's On the Plot with Jeff Foreman, and send my friends requests, and you can watch me through the week on my video. When I've got time through the week, I often post through the week, or any questions you want to answer, queries you've got, just give us a ring. If I don't know, there's plenty of like-minded lads on our plot, on our site, that'll help you out. Okay, so I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.